Well, some possible signs of hope this morning for would-be homebuyers in Metro Vancouver. Some real estate experts predicting a big housing correction this year. With those details, we're joined by Adil Dinani, a real estate advisor with LePage. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure to be with you.
All right, so you were looking at the last quarter of 2016, seeing the decreases that you saw there and using that to help predict what we're going to see in 2017?
Right. So our housing price survey was just released yesterday. What it outlines is year-over-year fourth quarter results, and it showed prices up substantially. So essentially what happened was the latter half of this year, post foreign buyer tax, we saw a pullback in the market, and I would say a retracement in some of those gains. Year over year, we still ended higher than we started 2016, but we've seen a moderation and a rebalancing taking place in the market.
Now, when you say big correction, how big of a correction could we see this year?
So I think we've already seen the first and second phases of that correction take place in our market. So I would say the market peaked in the summer of 2016, and as we saw the foreign buyer tax take effect, it really shook consumer confidence. So buyers were uncertain of the direction of the market, and generally what do buyers do when they're uncertain? They generally do nothing. They take a wait-and-see approach. So we saw a lot of that taking place in the latter half of the year of 2016, and now we're seeing potentially some buyers come back just because we're seeing a bit more stability taking place into 2017. I don't know if the correction's completely, completely done, but I think the first quarter of this year will really be indicative of how the rest of the year goes.
So if you were to throw a number out there, what would it be?
So LePage is forecasting somewhere in the 8 to 9% range. But again, there's a whole host of factors that go into determining the direction of a market, right? Interest rates, supply and demand levels. As we know, we're in a supply-constrained environment in Vancouver where there's not a lot of new product coming to market. Yeah. So if we see that continue, we could potentially see the market tighten up. So I think it's still a little too early to tell.
And when you look at the Lower Mainland, the different regions, say Vancouver compared to Surrey, are you seeing one region getting hit harder than another?
Yeah, great question. So we are seeing the uber luxury properties in the west side and also in West Vancouver get hit the hardest. Naturally, the higher price points are less affordable. And
what about condos, maybe the entry-level properties?
So what's interesting about the condo market, the attached market, which consists of condos and townhouses, it's actually remained relatively stable. And the correction's largely taken place in the detached segment. So those folks that are holding on to condos and townhouses have actually held most of their value.
When you take a look at the bigger picture, you step aside, you look at the numbers, what do you think this is going to mean for our market? I mean, a lot of people might kind of panic when they think, okay, the price of my home is going to drop even further. Can I handle that?
Right, great question. So I would say look back in the last decade in Vancouver. We've had two previous corrections, one in 2008 and another one followed in 2012. Both these corrections lasted between 6 and 8 months, and the market actually was quite resilient in the following months and years. So if history repeats itself, there might be brighter skies, brighter days ahead, but I think we'll need more data from the first quarter of 2017 to determine how the rest of the year goes.
All right. Well, some interesting numbers to think about there. Adil, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's check in with Caitlin, who's keeping an eye on that commute. Caitlin.
Yes, and quite busy.